We know from one report that an 18-pound dog died after eating only 4 or 5 grapes, but then there are countless reports of other dogs eating grapes all of their life and never having any problems. You just need to look at the many comments on my other videos about this topic. So which is true? Are grapes deadly or are they harmless? And when should you be worried? So we never used to know why some dogs seemed to get problems after eating grapes and others stayed healthy and never seemed to have any effects at all despite gorging on them. And there was this thought that there was an individual dog sensitivity to some unknown substance that was within these grapes, maybe a genetic variation, something like that. But there has been recent suggestions that actually it is the tartaric acid and potassium bitartrate, which is also cream of tartar, that's found in grapes that's responsible for causing the irreversible kidney damage that occurs in some dogs. And why some dogs and not others? Well, actually the amount of tartaric acid in grapes, it's really highly variable. It ranges from about 3.5 to 11 grams per litre, which means that one grape may have 214% more tartaric acid than another. And you can see with that amount of difference how for some, if they're eating the wrong type of grape, it can be deadly. Whereas the right type of grape has got virtually none of that tartaric acid in comparison. And the problem is here that there's just no way for you and I to know if a grape has a lot of tartaric acid or really hardly any, because it depends on the variety of the grape, it depends on the growing conditions and also the ripeness of that grape. So with all that in mind, when should you actually worry if your dog has eaten a grape or two that's rolled on the floor? Maybe your child has got back and their lunchbox contains uneaten grapes, or they get into mince pie, Christmas pudding, anything with raisins in it as well. So the basic toxic dose means that a 10-kilogram dog, so that's one that weighs 22 pounds, eating an average grape, whatever that may be, needs to eat 37 grapes or 23 raisins for toxicity to occur. So that's quite a lot. But there have been reports, as I alluded to at the beginning, of dogs dying from eating much less, which when extrapolated down to that 10-kilogram weight would bring the toxic dose down to only 5 grapes or 3 raisins, which clearly is not very much. For a 25-kilogram dog, things are much less worrying, clearly, because they're that much bigger. The toxic amount here would vary between about 92 grapes for the average toxic dose, down to about 12 if we're dealing with one or a group of grapes that have got a really high concentration of that tartaric acid. 12 grapes, it's not a lot, but it's still a reasonable amount for them to get into. Now, for a 5-kilogram dog or an 11-pound dog, we're actually talking between about 3 and 18 grapes. So here for our smaller dogs, you know, we do start to worry about much less, although even then a single grape is highly unlikely to cause any problems unless your dog really is absolutely tiny. So with all that in mind and with that degree of uncertainty, what tends to be my advice to my clients, and I guess by default to you? Well, my general advice is that if your dog has eaten less than this lowest amount, it's highly unlikely that there's going to be a problem. And so monitoring your otherwise healthy dog will generally be absolutely fine. We need to watch for signs of kidney damage, which can include lethargy, inappetence, drinking and urinating more, maybe actually not urinating at all, conversely, or vomiting or diarrhea, and just generally becoming unwell. They might also be sore in their belly. Those are signs that there could be kidney damage, and if anything like that happens, we absolutely want to be onto that as soon as possible, because without supportive care, kidney damage, acute kidney injury, kidney failure absolutely can be fatal. And this is why there is this maybe uncertainty about what we should recommend. Certainly, I would say that if your dog has any pre-existing health issues, especially if they have a known kidney problem already, maybe they're an older dog, then you should absolutely be calling your vet. That would be the safest option. And because of this uncertainty, if you absolutely want to be 100% safe, then getting your dog to the vet, having some blood tests, maybe having some supportive fluids or other supportive treatment, preventive treatment, supportive care and monitoring will give your dog the best chance of being completely unaffected. And if your dog has eaten more than this lowest toxic dose, then call your vet for advice. They may want to bring your dog in for treatment and support. But the first step for a dog that has just eaten a concerning number of grapes or raisins is to remove them from their stomach by making your dog vomit. And you can find out how to do this at home in this video linked on screen. So tap on that video, I'll see you there. But until then, I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex. This is Our Pets Health, because they're family.